Good evening, everyone. So today we have Miss Ishita Basu in between us to share her views and expertise on innovative ways of teaching grammar. So before we start, I want to introduce Miss Ishita Basu. She is an alumnus of La Martini Girls College and Isabelle Thoburn College, Lucknow. She has been an educator for more than 20 years now, having taught at various cities like Allahabad, Ambala, and Lucknow. She has trained students for the GRE, GMAT, TOEFL, and IELTS before joining the La Martini Girls College as faculty for English in the senior department. As a subject expert, she has facilitated several training and personality development sessions. Stagecraft is her passion, and she has conducted various camps training students about the nuance of theatre, art, and public speaking. She is the recipient of Gandhi Corner Award and many other awards. She loves traveling, reading, listening to Jing Bang music. So, without any delay, I would request ma'am to start her session. Miss Ishita ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anjali. Everyone, am I audible? Anjali, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Good day to all of you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Anjali. More importantly, is me doing justice to the upcoming hour. So, welcome all of you to this session for Commune teachers. And today's topic is innovative ways of teaching grammar. Anjali, how would we share the PPT so that everyone can view it? I'd like to know if the PPT is visible to all the teachers.
You can share your screen.
I will go to share screen. Just give me a moment. I will get the PPT
Sure.
started. All right. Open recent. Here goes share screen. So it says one participant can share at a time. I tick on that.
Yes.
Right. Is my screen visible to all?
No, ma'am.
Not yet.
No.
I will need. Can it be shared from your end?
Yes, ma'am. Just wait a minute.
Yeah, because it's not allowing me to share from this end.
Okay.
While the tech team is helping set up the PPT, let me just have a discourse with all of you and just show me by reactions and raising your hands if you agree to the statement I'm about to make. Grammar teaching is an uphill task. If you agree with me, just put a thumbs up sign or show through your reaction. Or you can put a message in the message column if you agree with me. Grammar teaching is not very easy. How many of you feel this? As an educator for more than 2 decades, I realized that English takes a backseat as far as studies and studying and interest in studying from students happen in today's world, especially when it comes to important subjects like the sciences or economics or commerce, where students are so focused on creating their future and working on their entrance exams. Oh, there it comes. Great, my PPT is being shared. Can everyone see the PPT? Could you just unmute and say a yes, teachers in the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. And
Yes, ma'am.
go to the next slide. Fine. All of us have faced this problem, and most of us, I'm sure, are of this accord that English teaching is not easy in today's world, especially when the child is under pressure of subject studies for their entrances, for building up their profession, etc. And the second important thing in today's world is the amount of distractions. Would you agree with me? The mobile phone, the internet, the child has time for anything and everything except English. And in such a scenario, this PPT that shows to you, as teachers, we have to excite students and take them away from their screen time and distractions and help them realize the importance of English. When it comes to English, teaching is diversified into literature and language. Students will still give some importance to learning points in literature because we are focused upon marks and rote learning method, and they get pointers and tips. But when it comes to grammar teaching, I'm now going to concentrate only upon language teaching. That is a bottomless pit. There is no beginning, there is no end, and there is no limit. And that is what becomes a challenge to all of us. So in grammar teaching today, how do we make the child excited enough to raise his hand and answer and ask questions and get interested? That's what I'll be talking about today. Next slide, please. When we take a classroom session, it's very important for us to connect with our students. The student strength may vary from class to class, place to place. You may be teaching students, let's say about 30, 40, or sometimes even 50 or 60 students in a class, and that becomes quite a challenge, quite a problem. What's most important in creating interest when it comes to a heterogeneous class is understanding the multiple intelligences of all our students and understanding and being aware of the fact that each child has his own distinctive learning style. I will just give you a brief of this. This is basic B.Ed teaching. I will do this quickly before connecting all this to grammar teaching. Now, students can learn visually. They have an idea of the spatial surroundings. Some students are more adept at oral learning and their auditory skills are more developed. Some students are very good speakers. They have better linguistic skills. And then there are those energetic, active kids in the class who just cannot keep still. They have kinesthetic intelligence, and it's difficult to make that child sit still for very long. Some students are extremely mathematical and logical, and they do calculations in a jiffy. There are introverts and then there are extroverts. Some students have extremely good interpersonal skills, and some are quieter in the class. I'm sure all of you would agree that in your own classroom scenario, you face children who display a combination or specifics of each of these learning styles. Now, to make your class most effective, my suggestion is concentrate on each of these learning styles so that every student in your class benefits. For today's session, may I request you all to just keep a pen and paper and keep jotting down points that I'll be speaking about. And if you have questions during the session, just hold on to them and we'll take up question answers at the end of the session. So just keep jotting down points that you have, and we will do a recap, and you can pose your questions or doubts, and we'll have a doubt clearing session. Once you are connected with students in your class, appreciating the fact that they all learn differently, try to incorporate as many of these teaching styles for children to learn. By teaching styles, I mean visual. Show them pictures, show them things and props. Make your lessons interesting orally for the ears. Don't read out in monotone, but bring in some music and dramatization in class. Verbal skills, of course, is most important for grammar teachers because you have to use words, you have to convey the points that you want to get across. Physical. Now, we are very lucky that we have to teach language to the children because here we can bring in so many activities, and I will be telling you some games and activities that you can use in class for grammar teaching. I'm sure a lot of you already do it, make the children move around in class or do group activities that helps to build expressions and language skills in children. More often than not, I've heard that people good with English are not so good with maths. But when it comes to rules of grammar, and you can drill in the logic in each of the theories that you teach in grammar, you may break through and make a difference in the logical child's mind. You have to be aware of both the quiet child in the class and the child who talks nonstop in the class, and try to maintain a balance in making your teaching interesting and inspiring to both these kinds of students. Can we go to the next slide, please? Incorporating all of these learning skills, there are various techniques, and I've just summed them here. I'll take them one by one. We can do a lot of games while teaching. I was just talking about that when I spoke about kinesthetics, making your children run around the class, match up with each other. These are physical activities while you're taking a class. You can do games while children are seated, so that there's discipline in the class. There is a plethora of resources available to us. Simple games are word games. You can do word blocks with them. You can make them build stories, etc. Can I elicit some ideas of games that you might have tried in your class? If there's anyone who'd like to unmute and share a game that you have played. If there is anyone who has, I'd appreciate a share here. If not, I'll tell you about a couple of games that I have played in my classes. Is there anyone raising hand to share? Anju Sharma, I see your hand raised. Can you please unmute and tell us about some games that you might have played?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. First of all, I'm very sorry. I wouldn't be able to switch on my camera because of the connectivity issue.
No problem.
Yes, long time back, ma'am, when I was teaching grammar in the classes, it was a long time back. The internet was not available, so there were a lot many things which we need to improvise and innovate in our teaching. But we remember the one thing which I was always doing with my children. It was like 1 minute, 1 minute buzzer round, 1 minute game. I was telling them, okay, let's do the parts of speech. Even the students who are in ninth and 10th standard, they do not know about the parts of speech. And in Times of India, if you will see, there's a game coming, a spellathon that they have. There's a grid, and they have to make
Peloton.
the words. Yes, spellathon. They have to make a word out of it. So I was trying to use this word in my classroom to break the monotony, and say if the children are making 5 words or 7 words out of one letter, then I was telling them, okay, use it in your okay. Out of these words, how many of them are verbs? How many of them are pronouns? And this is the way it was I was trying to do with the children. And the same thing now I'm teaching to my team also these days, so that children will be able to learn it properly. But now there are so many things, because the different the resource persons, like I'm very much sure today you will be definitely offering us few more ideas. So this is how I was, like, it was always a just a minute, one word. So this was how I was doing. And even the game, you won't believe that name placing animal.
Name,
uh,
place,
uh,
animal thing. Very, very popular
yes,
and very common game, which
yes, very
helps children
common.
learn.
Yes, 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 ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anju, for that wonderful share. And I'm sure a lot of teachers in today's session would corroborate with your ideas, might have played similar games. And I'll continue with this interaction by asking you, what are the pros and cons that you felt in your class while you were conducting a game that you just mentioned, word games or even newspaper games? Did you see anything positive in your learning outcomes within the class or interest creation among students?
Ma'am,
Yeah, fair enough. Go ahead, Anu.
ma'am, initially it was very difficult to, open up. The children feel very shy, and especially the students who are in ninth and 10th standard. When you are asking them, okay, what is a pronoun? And if in the very first moment, if we are telling them, okay, you do not know what is a pronoun, the children, their
They
motivation and
switch
their
off.
morale comes up. Yes. So it is just a thing we need to encourage them, and then yes, it was very difficult in the beginning, but later on, when you are playing it like a game, like you have already mentioned on top of your slide, that it should be like a game when we are teaching to the children, so that they will have fun, and then they will learn it at the same time. So this was
Excellent.
the thing, and yeah, that name placing animal, it is still a very wonderful game, which like we are the children really love to play. So this was thing which I really faced in the initial days, and even today when we are
Mhm.
going to the class and teaching, the children really feel they take a back seat. But then we need to encourage them कि चलो आ जाओ चलो कुछ ना कुछ जिसको जो आता है please speak up speak up speak up. So
Great.
slowly they participate in the conversation, and then it is really a big help. When one more thing, ma'am, what we have started to encourage the listening skills. Actually, today our main topic is teaching grammar. As you know, LSRW. These are our skills which we have to learn. So we have seen that we are mostly now encouraging the children with the listening skills first. Movie we are showing to the children,
Yeah,
and accordingly, each and every concept we are trying to teach. Not
you're right.
all the concepts will be taught in one day, but gradually.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anju. From this interaction and your conversation, there are two important takeaways that I got and I would like to share with everyone else in the group. Firstly, what Anju said, when you start something new or different, or I'm putting this in quotes, non-academic, if you say I'm going to play a game in class, it has got nothing to do with the word studies, you will face resistance. Children will switch off. They'll think it's a waste of time. You might even have parents coming to you angrily and saying, hey, we are paying the school for you to teach my child and you're playing games. It's a waste of time. That is a mentality that you might face as a teacher who incorporates games in her class. Because a lot of people may see this, number one, as a waste of time. Number two, as something boring, not required. Because unfortunately, everybody is running after marks. They are they are vying for marks, and they are interested in entrance exams and a profession and money, but not understanding or appreciating the fact that building a good base to any language is quintessential to being successful in the world. So the first takeaway, and I'd like you all to note that down, is you will face resistance if you bring in something new or different. Please stay strong. Continue with your conviction. The second thing that I took away from what Anju shared is leading by example. When she was speaking and I could visualize what she did in her class, I can see her participating along with the students. And that is one important way to inspire. You want your children to learn grammar, and she spoke of the 4 skills: the listening skill, the speaking skill, the reading skill, the writing skill. You have to show each child in your class that you are interested in all these 4 skills yourself. Now, as a language teacher, we go into the class and we have specific directions, chapters to be done and topics to be taken up, but we can be flexible. I'll take up an example of, let's say, nouns, just taking a random example. So I go into the class and I take a piece of any text, any piece of writing, and I read that aloud. And as Anju said, we elicit response from the children. What are the nouns in this passage? Or for that matter, if you're doing a chapter on verbs, excite them to speak up and discuss about the verbs that you're reading. Alternately, you can have reading sessions in the class with you as the teacher sitting and reading something. Have a 5-minute quiet session with each one reading, and then have an interaction talking about what they might have read. So various kinds of games. In one important game, one interesting and fun game that I've played in classes with my students, which I'd like to share with you right now, is bingo. We play lotto in kitty parties and gatherings, where you have this slip of paper with some numbers and somebody draws out numbers and you cut out those numbers and then you play bingo and you win lines. How many of you are familiar with this game? Just show by your reaction or raising of hands. Do you know the game bingo? Where you have a slip of paper with some numbers. There are, I think, 5, 10, 15 numbers, and they take out numbers by draw, and you get top line, middle line, bottom line, full house. I think it's called housey also in some places. Housey, lotto, bingo. If there's anyone not familiar with this game, just write to me in the chat and I will personally explain this game to you. But in a class of grammar, how can I play bingo? Very simple. Ask children to take a piece of paper. Ask them to draw some columns and make a bingo card with 15 blocks in it. Just draw a couple of horizontal lines, 4 vertical lines, and you have 15 blocks. Now, if I were to be taking up, let's say, nouns, okay? So I say, fine, we'll do nouns with articles within the classroom. Okay, things within the classroom. You can change that to whatever you're teaching. If you're doing verbs, you can just take any action word that the child can write. If you're doing adjectives, you can do positive adjectives or negative adjectives, like words that make, good adjectives that describe things beautifully, or negative adjectives, or just plain and simple adjectives, and tell the children to fill in their piece of paper at random. At random, children fill in whatever words come to their mind. If we are doing adjectives, they can fill tall, beautiful, nice, talkative, etc., all describing words. And then you, as the teacher, start calling out words at random. And if the child has that word, she simply strikes it off her sheet or her card. And you can have a fun game in class describing and discussing various topics or aspects of grammar. Did you all get the game? Can you all play this, and you can have prizes. You can just take anything, give them stars in their merit chart, or take a toffee or a chocolate and say, anyone with 5 adjectives cut on their sheet gets the first prize. Something like that. Be innovative. So that's one of the games that I've played in class. The next technique that's coming up on the screen is songs. We just heard Anju talk about the importance of listening as a skill. And today's children, in fact, I think children down the years, remember lyrics better if they are put musically. Think of yourselves also. You remember a lot of mnemonics, etc., with a little bit of music set to it. How is it that we don't forget lyrics of a song, but we forget theoretical words that we read in books? That's the fancy of the human brain. So if you have something that you can put in a song, alternately, one common song that I have used in my classes for junior school teaching is What a Wonderful World. That's a song that I love and I have used in my class, where you can teach diction, pronunciation, vocabulary, etc. While doing a song, you can add a bit of fun element and make listening to a song as a game. You remove some words and you ask children to put in alternative words. So that's one way you can incorporate songs and games. Storytelling is very popular and pretty common. So many books and stories all around. What I have found interesting in my grammar classes is eliciting stories. But as the teacher, please remember, you have to maintain control of the class. If you just tell students to relate stories, there may be an absolute mayhem in the class, because there may be too many students wanting to speak up and share, which is actually very good. Have some decorum, put down some rules, and I'll show you one way that I have done storytelling in my class. So I asked children to take a piece of paper, and I'm going to demonstrate this to you, okay? Just a blank piece of paper. You, as the facilitator, will be controlling the entire session when it will come to a story telling, story writing objective. Your children would probably be seated in rows, so you could do this as a row-wise activity. You could make them sit in particular formations to do this story, and make a group, groups of maybe 5, 6 children, or 8, depending on the strength of your class. Make separate groups, each group to have a paper, okay? And you tell the children to number themselves. Suppose a group has 7 students. So each one numbers themselves 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 7. Say child number 1 gets the paper. So each group, child number 1 holds a paper. And you give a prompt for a story. As the teacher, as the facilitator, you give a prompt. Okay? So this activity is going to hone their imagination skills also, apart from writing abilities. How do we do that? I'll just take up an example. Suppose I want them to write a story on a haunted house, an experience in a haunted house, okay? I give a prompt. You are entering an isolated place. Describe the scene. So child number 1, and tell them how to write. They will write just about 1 or 2 lines at the top of the page. So child number 1 in each of the groups in the class thinks about what he sees in an isolated place and writes that down, and then tell the child to fold the paper. The child will simply fold that paper so that whatever the child has written cannot be seen by the next child. Pass this folded paper to child number 2. Continue with your prompts. Describe the entrance, the door or the gate into this place and write the sounds that you hear. So children are thinking about words that denote sound. They're imagining some dreary, haunted place. And the second child, just make sure you tell them to write beneath the fold. Okay? So second child writes 1 or 2 lines here and then folds up the paper and passes this to the next child. Similarly, keep giving prompts. What does the child see inside the house? What experience? What does the child feel? Elicit all their 5 senses. Make them see, hear, smell, speak, touch. Use all the 5 senses. Keep giving them prompts. And they keep folding the paper, writing 1 or 2 lines each. And then at the end of it, when your 7 children or number of children in the group have finished writing, wind it up with a prompt that is conclusive. What happens at the end of exiting the haunted place, let's say, and make any one child come up, open the page, and read it all out. The flow will be that of a story where different children have imagined different things. But when you put them all together, you have a story ready-made. What we did here, just note, we took a big task of writing a full story or an essay. We broke them into parts. We collaborated. And for children, that is a lot of fun when they do teamwork. Make them get together. And then the excitement of what is going to come. And then when the child reads her or, listens to her own line being read out, they feel connected. So that's another activity to help them build on interest in learning English and grammar skills. This way, they have worked on their imagination, their writing skills. The person who will be reading out these stories is speaking aloud. All the others are listening, and it gets very, very participative. Original writing is something that children are expected to do in essays. One important tip that I can give you here is that as the teacher, lead by example. At times, you write something and put it up for the class, or discuss your writing with the class. Or if there is some bright spark in your class, some student who writes poetry or any piece and brings that to you, or if you read an interesting essay in your corrections, read that aloud in the class. It will encourage the student whose essay is being read out, whose writing piece is being read out, or answer may be read out. It will inspire all the others. Most of the cities have tie-ups with newspapers, like the Times of India has NIE section, newspaper in education section. If you can collaborate with them, encourage your students to give in their articles for publishing in various newspapers or magazines, even online forums. There are a lot of competitions that are held for children and for writers online. So thankfully, a lot of information is available at our fingertips. If you ever come across anything, please share that with your children and encourage them to participate. The other 2 tips for teaching grammar, and that's very important in today's world, is technology. Our children know far more about technology than we do. There's so much we have to learn from them. But we also make use of technology. And the last tip that I have written here is funny implications, because if you make your class lighthearted and humorous, you will get more active and alert students. That goes without saying. The last 2 points that I've written, technology and funny implications, I would like to let you know this through a demonstration in the next slide. Could we have the next slide, please? I'll give you a minute to just go through this. This is a very famous Robert Frost poem that talks about two roads diverged in a wood. And we all know what happens in this poem. It talks about selections and choices in life and how we should not follow the herd mentality. But see the last picture in this cartoon. This child took the road less traveled and landed up on a missing poster. This is something that I received as a WhatsApp forward a few days back. But see how we can use humor and technology in classroom. Anything that you get today via social media, if you feel it connects with a chapter that you're doing, with adjectives or nouns or pronouns, bring it into class. Share it with the students, they will connect. Because all of today's students are adept at the use of technology. Make the children share. You talk about adjectives, tell them to pick out something interesting from the net and bring it and share it with the class. They will be inspired to do it because today's child is extremely tech savvy. Can we go to the next slide, please? In our B.Ed classes, we have all been taught the Bloom's taxonomy, and this pyramid is very simplistic in letting us know how much and how the children absorb our teaching in class. The most common methodology of teaching is the lecture method. You speak. You are speaking, you're reading from a book, you're taking up examples. If I want to make my children do fill-ups, I'm just reading a chapter in the grammar book and I'm asking them to fill in the blanks with correct prepositions, etc. That is the lecture method. The amount of retention and understanding and learning that happens with this method is a dismal 5%, because the child is just listening to your lecture. Majority of it is out through the other ear. Retention and understanding is minimalistic. Reading, you ask the child to read. The child understands a little more, but this is still very passive learning for the child. Textbooks, we cannot do without it. We have prescribed textbooks in the syllabus and we have to follow that curriculum. But do not make lecture method and just reading aloud in class, both by you and the students, the be-all and end-all of classroom teaching. And that's where the fun in grammar comes. There's so much you can do. Audiovisual. I just gave you an example through that cartoon that I showed in the class that you can share in your class. You have exposure to newspapers and print media and posters and even calendars and so much material all around you. If you feel there is something that relates to a topic that you're taking in class, take that as a prop. Show it to the students. If you're lucky enough to be in a school that has technology and smart classes, use audiovisual clues to make the child learn better. Demonstration, act it out. Whatever you're teaching, as I was talking about games, make the children do. You enact it, speak. The example that I gave you of leading by example, write something yourself and share that with the students to encourage them to write. Perhaps even if you're good at it, sing a song and discuss the lyrics in the class. Take up nouns, pronouns, adjectives through the lyrics of a song. Child will learn more by seeing you demonstrate. Discussion in class, the interactive method, is slightly more effective and learning is 50% scientifically. Now, I'm talking about more active learning. Make the child practice whatever topic you've done in class. That helps in retention. Make the child repeat the topics and exercises. That helps also. Have class discussions, have group discussions. A very, very effective method of ensuring that the learning outcomes are met, whatever objectives you have for your lesson, they are met, is asking the children to collaborate and teach one another. I'm sure in your younger days, you might have done that too, forming your own study circle, study group, and helping each other learn by teaching topics to your friend. Peer learning really becomes very effective, but in the classroom, you need to maintain control. Always be sure that there is discipline. The children, they may be interacting with each other for learning. They know who is in charge. Don't let go of that, right? Can we go to the next slide, please? So these are various general topics of grammar that I've just put up. Today, to demonstrate, I'll just take up any one topic at random. Can I take up prepositions if you're okay with it? And I'll show you a little activity that we could do to teach children prepositions. Please unmute and say a yes or no, or if there's anything else you'd want me to take up.
Yes, ma'am.
Prepositions,
ma'am.
please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And the fun fact here, and I have done it, so I'm telling you through my experiences, this activity will be enjoyed by students in smaller classes, class 2, 3, 4, 5, and the bigger students, class 8, 9, 10 students would have fun too, because it will be a break in monotony. I want to drum in the concept of prepositions to my children. I tell them one day before, you have to be a little prepared for this, to bring a small colored piece of paper to class, or any piece of paper, and a stapler and a little ribbon. Here's what I'm going to do. Ask the child to take a paper. Tell the child to fold the paper in a cone. Staple this part. Now, where's my stapler gone? Okay, I'm just demonstrating. Staple this part to make a cone, you know, like where you put those snacks in, make a little cone like this, make a little cone. You can stick or staple. Take a little bit of string and attach it at the back somewhere, you know. Maybe some string. Here's my stapler. Staple this, make a cone, attach a string, take some colored pen, draw 2 rounds like this, and I already have something ready, so I'm going to pick that up, prepare something like this. You'll get to see what cone I have made with paper with a little string here. So this activity will take you not more than 3 to 4 minutes. And on this little cone, I'm going to put little circles to denote eyes. I can decorate a little bit more depending upon the time that I have in class. And I tell the child to put his hand inside, and I'll say each of you has your own personal little mouse in the class. You know, a little fun-filled kinesthetic activity in the class. And now about prepositions. I'm going to take this mouse on the table, and the child has to do that little action. So there's action-packed learning. I'm going to take this mouse through 2 books, and you keep 2 books on the table, and the child is, the mouse that the child has is going to pass from in between. So I can teach so many prepositions by using this little aid. And it's not difficult at all. If I don't have any props or material with me, I can just ask the child to pick up a pencil box or a water bottle and make that move around in the class, demonstrating various prepositions: on, over, in between, among, through, under, such things, right? Can we go to the next slide? These are the various tips that I wanted to share with you, and I'll leave you with some food for thought. Grammar teaching can be fun. I'm going to incorporate it with my spirit and energy. One important takeaway, and you all should note it down, is lead by example. Whatever you want your child to learn, please express to them that you enjoy that. The moment the children realize you're enjoying what you're learning, half your battle is won. So, any questions that or doubts that you might have, can we take that up now, please? Or anything that you would like to share regarding today's pointers or anything that you have experienced?
How can we teach sentence structure to an activity?
By sentence structure, are you trying to say a teaching of active voice and
Yes,
passive voice?
yes, no, basically, voice, we see that.
Active voice and passive voice?
Subject, verb, object, is subject,
Subject, verb, object. Simple. To teach any of this, whether it's active voice or passive voice sentence structures, the child needs to know the concept of what is a subject, what is a verb, what is an object. What I would probably do, this is just an idea that I'm sharing, is prepare flashcards, and play mix and match. So I will take some object words on cards. I will take some verb action words on cards, and I will do subject, verb, object, and place them. Call children forward holding up the cards, and then ask them whether this is active voice or passive voice, and teach them sentence structure through flashcards. That's an example that just comes right at the out of my mind right now. If there's any other idea that comes up in the group, we'd all be welcome to listening to that. Sheila, does that help, this little activity of using flashcards and making children stand in particular positions? Do you think you could do that?
Yes, ma'am, that helps.
Sheila, you're not very clear.
Yes, ma'am. I think
Please do
yes,
use
can
it
be
and let
helpful.
me know personally whether it was effective in the class. I'd love to get a feedback on this. Anyone else with a question or a pointer or an experience to share?
Good evening, madam.
Hello, Shubha.
Yeah, I played dumb charades with my children. Yeah, for not only for the titles, I played for antonyms also. Synonyms.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent
synonyms,
idea.
antonyms. They did a good job actually. They were able to show their actions, and the children were able to identify. Like I made them read one poem. So I just asked them to keep the poem open, and
Okay.
I called each and everyone, and I asked them to show the action of any word,
And
and
the
the
others
others
have to
are
guess.
supposed to reveal what the word is.
That's a very, very good way. In fact, you can play what's the good word also,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
help with building vocabulary and learning points from poems.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
good idea, Shubha. Even
Yeah.
I have played dumb charades. In fact, I have always felt I would get more active and enthusiastic about it than some of my students.
Oh, good, ma'am.
But
Ma'am,
yes.
and the theater play works really well.
Uh,
Theater play.
Shubha, when you play these games in the class, do you do it row-wise or individual students or
Like I make
house-wise?
them in the different groups. I make them sit. I make them interact first. Then I do. But for dumb charades, I called each and every student. So every
One by
student
one.
had to come forward and do. The rest of them would answer.
So one child against the whole class. That's
Exactly.
fun. And
Yes.
another thing, while she mentioned this, that I'd like to share with you is that if you're making groups of students,
Yeah.
be a little mindful and ensure that you are putting a higher order thinking kid, higher order thinking student, along with a lower order thinking student. You know, there are slow learners and there are quick learners in the class. Try to
Exactly.
identify them and have a mixed group. And you
Yes.
know, there are
Yeah, that's a
introverts
very good
and
idea.
extroverts in class. So this is again going out to all of you. If you can identify that and you're playing group games, make sure your group is heterogeneous, not homogeneous, so that you have a mixture of both the active students and passive learners, slow learners and quick learners in your group. Your interaction and the learning outcome is far better. And that's why I like these books by Madhuban, because each of their lessons have the learning outcomes very, very specific. And there's so many activities given at the end of each chapter. And I'm not speaking just for language or literature books, but with all subjects, you know, these people are keeping the learning outcomes in mind, and that really helps. So thank you so much, Shubha. That was an important intake for everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Excellent session. I enjoyed every bit of it.
I
I've
appreciate.
taken screenshots of your. So I feel that would be useful for me and my friends too. So
I'm
thank you
so
so much, ma'am.
happy. I love to pass on. So this goes out to all of you. We receive to give. So whatever information and knowledge that you have, share it with your colleagues, share it with your students. Each one teach one, and it is like a chain reaction. Thank you so much for saying that, Shubha.
Thank you.
That inspires me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful session. I'm sure it was a great learning for everyone. With this, any questions from anyone? No. So with this,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Ma'am, I have a question. If we have to inculcate critical based questions,
Critical based
for,
questions. I can't
yes,
make out
ma'am.
who is speaking.
Ma'am, myself, Sukhbir.
Sukhbir. Hello, Sukhbir. You are
Yeah, ma'am.
asking for an idea to teach critical based questions for grammar or for general
Yes,
English literature.
ma'am, for both. Like sometimes in lessons we give them something to give an alternate ending or something. But how can we, use it even sometimes in grammar also?
Okay, in grammar, the immediate thought that comes to my mind about critical thinking is both comprehension writing and composition writing. One example that I just gave to you about critical thinking is through the prompts of that essay writing activity. You know, you can encourage the child to think out of the box, to think deeper. Another important thing, good that you brought this up, Sukhbir, is the importance of word power. There is something that I have on my screen. Anjali, please see if you could help me share this. Just give me a moment. That
Ma'am, you can just share it with me. I will share it with ma'am later on.
okay,
I
I will.
don't think that will be possible. And
Okay, hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, my screen had become smaller. So there is something about word power that encourages critical thinking. So I would encourage you, specifically talking about the importance of vocabulary. Make children, there's something which I used to call a flash game. I would just put up one word on the board and splash. I'm sorry, I said flash. I meant splash, and I would do a word splash with them. So, with one word up on the board, I would ask the children all the thoughts and words that are triggered by this particular word. And that helps them think further, helps them improve their vocabulary, and further would help with critical thinking and analysis of various concepts, especially used for comprehension and composition. So, you could try the word splash.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
And there is something I have on my screen which I'll share with Anjali ma'am, which she could pass on to all of you. That's just an example of what I said, playing the word splash.
Okay, ma'am.
Most welcome, Sukhbir. Anyone else? Anything? Anjali, back to you.
Yeah, I think with this, we shall wrap up this session.
Will there be a link?
Yeah,
Actually,
Sheila, any question? Okay, I think by mistake,
maybe.
audio was, she was not on mute. So with this, we are wrapping up the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ishita ma'am, for the wonderful
Thank
session.
you so much. And all the best to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate the
Thank
session.
you so
And a
much.
link.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Go have fun with your children.
Where
Teaching
is
is
the feedback link,
so
ma'am?
vibrant.
Hi, Sheila ma'am. We will share the feedback link on the group itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best. Signing
Thank
off.
you everyone for joining. Yeah, have a happy weekend. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.